This episode is for the writer who wants to take themselves seriously as a memoir writer. This is not a hobby for you. It's not something that you are ambivalent about. Regardless of where you're falling on the frustration meter right now, you know that your story needs to be in the world and you're ready to do whatever it takes to write your last draft. And if you're not there yet, this episode may be especially for you. Let's go.
You are listening to the Memoir Method podcast, the place for writers, readers, and anyone who appreciates the collective power of our stories. In this podcast, we explore the impact of memoir alongside an examination of writing techniques and strategies used in the genre. Whether you are a writer looking for inspiration and guidance or a passionate reader seeking meaningful connections through shared experiences, the Memoir Method podcast is your go-to conversation spot. I'm your host, Charlotte, editor, writer, and the heart behind Charlotte Writes. Let's get started.
It feels like a leap to take yourself seriously as a memoir writer. You feel like you have to earn your stripes to be taken seriously. The publishing industry does not help with this mindset because they created it. There's a lot of gatekeeping that happens within publishing. There's a lot of hoops that you need to go through, and there are a lot of ways to be externally validated that feel like the only way to be legitimate. But becoming a serious writer has nothing to do with how others perceive you and everything to do with how you perceive yourself. If you don't feel like a real writer yet, I have some tough love to dish out. Serious memoir writers don't write once a month and then ghost their draft for 6 weeks. Also, I am guilty as charged. I say this for myself as much as I'm saying it for you. They don't rewrite the same chapter over and over with the same lens and call it progress. And they don't binge writing advice for the dopamine hit while their manuscript is staying exactly the same. Maybe that stings a little bit, and it should, because you know as well as I do that if your way worked, if your process worked, you'd be published by now, or at least finished with your draft. So what this means, you need to shake up your strategy. And that is one of the things I love helping my writers with, is shifting their creative editorial strategy so that they can actually write what they are here to write. So now that we have the hard part out of the way, some tough love, let's talk about a new way to write your memoir, where you are at right now creatively. Writers who come to me often check one or more of these boxes. So usually you have quite a bit written, like 80, 100,000 words. That's usually the manuscript range that I read when someone sends me their draft for an evaluation. Or conversely, you've maybe had a few false starts with the whole drafting process and you can't get your balance from the get-go. You can't get your feet under you. And I've worked with very few writers in between those extremes. So either you've written a ton and you're like, well, what do I do now? Or you want to start, but you don't really know how to get started. You don't really know what to do. So it's either 100,000 words or barely starting out. Maybe you can't get the idea to write your memoir out of your head. Like, if you're listening to this, it's not because writing your memoir is just a passing idea and you're like, oh, that's nice. It's an idea that won't let go. It's an idea that will not leave your mind. Whether someone else is telling you that you need to write it or it's just an idea and a spark that is taking root and you don't really know what to do with it. You're more likely than not stuck in what I call a rewrite loop. This is trying to effort your way into a draft that you love. And while effort matters, yes, discipline matters, how you write matters just as much as what you're writing. So let me reassure you, you definitely don't have a talent problem. Very few of my writers have a talent problem. I'd say almost none of them. You're showing up, though, in a way that doesn't serve your story or your process. I hate to tell you, so much of the creative process is a mind game. And so you get to learn how to play it and win. If you keep going the way that you're going, doing the same things that you've been doing, and maybe they've gotten you to the point you're at, which is great, but they're not working anymore. So if you keep doing what you're doing that isn't working, your memoir will continue to stay in that someday I'll finish category instead of actually finishing and publishing. And the tricky thing about your current process is that it feels productive, right? You feel like you are doing it, you're doing the thing. but your output is not matching up with your effort. You'll binge podcasts like this one. You'll scroll through Instagram and follow editors. You'll watch YouTube, all the while tricking yourself into believing that you're working on your craft when you're not actually doing anything tangible with your writing. Maybe you go into your draft and move stuff around, rewrite some things, but it's still super messy. You still don't love it. You still know it's not ready. Or then when you do sit down to write, you'll use the same writing process that has gotten you this far. But you end up rewriting the same stuff over and over and over because it doesn't feel right. What's happening, though, and I can say this because I've seen it so many times, is you think your writing is the problem. You think, oh, I need to fix this on a sentence level, or I need to just move these chapters around. But doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, as Albert Einstein has taught us, that's insanity. And I don't want you to be an insane writer. I want you to be a published one. That's the rewrite loop. It's sneaky and it's persistent, and it comes in the guise of productivity. But are you actually producing something that you love? Are you actually producing something that you feel good about? Does the process feel good to you? My guess is probably not, because you're here listening to this podcast instead of working on your memoir, right? The cost of this rewrite loop is significant, my friend. Months will pass with either your draft more or less in the same state, a mess, or months will pass without you touching it at all. That's actually exactly where one of my writers in the winter cohort of the Memoir Method was before he joined this container. He was trying out something with his draft. He didn't love it, and then he'd ghost it for weeks and months. Like, he would work on it a little bit and then not love it, not really know what he's doing, and then he'd back off. This almost always results in a confidence erosion, whether you are the ghosting type of writer or you're the one who just keeps going, spinning your wheels. It's like you're on a hamster wheel. You're not actually going anywhere. Your draft isn't actually improving. Either one of those always results in a confidence erosion where you feel massive imposter syndrome and you're so intimidated that you scare yourself out of any progress at all. Your mind is going to play tricks on you to kind of get you out of that scary place, to veer you away from that imposter syndrome, and you'll minimize what you're actually trying to do. Your draft will feel more unwieldy, and yes, again, this affects your confidence. Years ago, I talked to a writer who said he feels crushed under the weight of everything that he's written. He was really good at sitting down to write it out, but he had no idea what to do with it next, and it just paralyzed him. And finally, and maybe the worst of all, this may be one of the worst costs of the rewrite loop, is that to brace yourself from the personal disappointment and frustration, you might minimize the work that you're doing to just a hobby. Or, I don't know, maybe I don't actually care about it that much. I don't believe you, and you don't believe you. But you're trying to protect yourself from failing and from rejection. And this is because you don't take yourself seriously enough. If even just one of those hit a nerve for you, good. I want you to pay attention to these pain points, because those pain points are actually arrows directing you in a new space, directing you to a new process, a new way of trying things. And new things can feel intimidating and scary because they're new, not because it's wrong. This episode so far has been a little more intense. I'm feeling intense because I want you to take yourself seriously. And I've just spent the past several minutes outlining why you aren't, and the mind games that your brain is playing with you without you even realizing it. Now we are going to flip the script for you, and I'm going to give you 3 serious shifts that you can make to go in a new direction. Notice those pain points that you were feeling in the first part of this episode. And now I'm going to tell you what to do with them. Okay? You don't get to stay stuck there. You don't have to. It's just a signal. It's data that tells you that something gets to change. So here are 3 changes that you can make as a memoir writer to actually shift your process and therefore shift what you actually write. First, ditch what isn't working. If your way of revising worked, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast episode because you'd be finished, right? Just because what you have done is always what you have done doesn't mean that you can't change it. Doesn't mean that you can't try something new. And again, this is going to actually be some kind of neural pathway recoding. Okay? Your ego, your mind is going to resist a creative process change. But that's okay. That is actually, you're growing your creative muscles because you're going to be stretching them and you're going to be finding new ways to do things. Okay? And remind yourself, okay, if my way worked, I wouldn't be stuck here. I wouldn't be listening to Charlotte on a podcast instead of working on my memoir. I'd be finished. And you're so close to your own work. You've heard me say this a million times, that you often can't even tell where you are looping or why. This happens a lot. This happens a lot with the writers who come to my spaces. It's actually why I subconsciously shifted how I show up as an editor and to also show up as a writing coach for you, because you are not seeing your blind spots. I can see them. And so together I say, hey, well, what about this? Have you thought about that? Try this instead. And you do, and the clarity all starts clicking into place every time. And I know that you have found a writing rhythm, a creative process that has clearly worked for a while. Again, you probably have something on the page. You have some kind of process, but it's not working anymore because you're hitting resistance. And not resistance in like, I don't know what to write, but like resistance in an emotional way. Okay? Pay attention to that. It's not a judgment on you as a writer. It's just data. What ditching old rhythms actually looks like in practice is to change your writing strategy. And it's hard to talk about writing in this way because we want to treat it almost like math, right? Especially when you're feeling frustrated. Well, just tell me what to do and I'll do it and it'll be fixed. Creativity is an art. There's also strategy. I want you to use your left brain to help you figure out how to activate your right brain. Okay? I'm really good at pulling, okay, what are some writing strategies that we can use? And then once you learn these tools and these strategies, then you can use your creative intuition to figure out how do you actually want to apply that. But you need to learn it first. You need to recode your brain to be flexible and elastic so that you can learn new things. The best way to do this is to get someone else's eyes on not just your writing, but on your process. You need to find someone, this is what I do with my writers, again, to help you zoom out and evaluate honestly your creative bottlenecks and your weak points. And then you can find professionals to support you there. You need to look out and say, okay, who's available to me that can help me? Because writing is an isolating experience. It's done on your own, the actual writing. But publishing, revising, that's like a group effort. And you need to have people on your team who can get on board with your vision, who understand what it is, and then who can help you pick apart where you aren't bridging that gap between what you want to say and what you're actually saying. So, shift 1, stop doing what isn't working and try a new creative strategy. Shift 2. Stop waiting for inspiration. And this isn't something that I think every writer struggles with. I'm bringing it up because it's an area where I have found resistance myself. It's really easy to write when you're inspired because it's fun. But writing by inspiration only is not a writing strategy. I mean, honestly, that's more of like a hobby move. Okay? It's not a strategy. And this might come up for me at least because I'm a mood reader. When it comes to the books that I read, the novels I read whatever I'm in the mood for. I don't follow like a to be read list just because I say, oh, I'm going to read this in May. I'm actually probably not if I'm not in the mood for it. Okay. So while vibes may work for leisurely reading, vibes do not make a writing practice. You cannot wait for inspiration. When you can create a writing practice and discipline, you won't love everything that you write. But when that inspiration does strike, you'll be ready for it. And what will flow out of you will be so much better than if you only write when inspiration strikes. Does that make sense? So for me, I love committing to a 20-minute daily writing block. I'm going to start implementing that next month or soon, because that is such a great way to just be in the practice of writing. 20 minutes a day, writing anything I feel like. Sometimes I work on my essay collection. Sometimes I write for my Substack. Sometimes I journal. That's making my writing a practice and a discipline so that when I do have inspiration, I can make the most of it. That's what I need you to be doing. That's one of the best ways to take yourself seriously. And then finally, the third shift for you to take yourself seriously is to be your own main character. And I know that main character energy is a funny concept that can have some people rolling their eyes. I've talked about it on the podcast before, actually, many, many episodes ago. But I'm here to tell you that if you cannot champion yourself, you will never publish. I can't care about your book more than you do. It won't work. You won't write something that you like if I'm the one who cares more about it. That is true whether you are publishing in a traditional model or if you are self-publishing. You have to be your biggest champion. And this is a hard one because this isn't actually about your writing. It's about how you see yourself as a writer and what you want to say with your writing. So let's say you're at a family dinner and your husband, who's so proud of you, tells his brother that you're writing a memoir and he's really excited for you. Your brother-in-law, oh, you're writing a memoir? What about? This conversation could go two different ways. One, it's nothing really. It's just a little side thing for fun. Like that energy is not fun. Versus, yeah, I'm writing about how I healed from an eating disorder in college. This is a conversation that I really care about, and I think that I can really help people. Can you feel the difference in those two responses? When you have main character energy as a writer, it's not making everything about you. It's seeing that you have something worth saying and that people are going to care about it. You have to be your biggest champion. You deserve to take yourself seriously. You do. And if you don't, though, no one else can take you seriously if you don't take yourself seriously first. So if you're going to treat yourself with main character energy, you are going to be the person who protects their writing time. You're going to be resilient with feedback and rejection. You're going to stop saying, someday I'll publish my memoir, and you're going to map out a timeline for yourself. You're going to hold yourself accountable. You're going to be hiring people to help you. That's what it means to take yourself seriously as a memoir writer. I know that you may be here binging this podcast. I actually often meet with writers for the first time, and they tell me that they've listened to every single episode. Which, if you have, that's a journey for you. And I love that you're here. I love the space, and I love that I get to speak directly to you. So hear me out. I say this with so much love. Podcasts and Instagram accounts can get you only so far. And I say that as a podcaster and as someone who has an Instagram account for Memoir. They can only take you so far. And so I'll repeat this. You deserve to take yourself seriously as a memoir writer. What will solidify these 3 shifts for you that I went over? Ditch what isn't working, stop waiting for inspiration, and move with main character energy as a writer. What will solidify those for you is targeted and personalized support. Professional support for you as a writer and for your memoir manuscript is the difference between a rewrite loop and actual progressive revisions. This is the difference between hobby energy and actually being an author. So, this spring cohort of my memoir method is open for enrollment. This is my signature program. It is my own unique custom process and method that I have crafted over years of working with memoir writers. This is my 8-week writing container that combines coursework, workshops, editing, and community into a custom alchemy that will recode your creative process. I'm not just yanking your chain when I say that I have not seen any other editor out there create a space like this one. I give you homework, I give you feedback, I actually edit your work, I coach you in live workshops, and you get to connect with other writers who are exactly where you are. This is a highly intimate, intentional, custom space for you. The winter cohort just wrapped up yesterday with our final workshop call, and I am obsessed with this container. I love this space. I love the writers who come in here, and I love the conversations that we have. I am obsessed with the conversations that these writers bring because it's not just about their story. It's about how they see themselves. It's about recoding who you are as a writer, how you want to show up for yourself. I go deep with you. I'm not just going to give you like fluffy advice or inspiration. That's not going to help you. The Memoir Method container is where you recode your creative process and where you realize, oh yeah, I am taking myself seriously as a memoir writer. If you are stuck in your process, but not quite ready for one-on-one work with an editor, the Memoir Method is the perfect place for you. The clarity that comes through in just 8 weeks will completely transform what you're writing and how you write it. I will link to the Memoir Method in the show notes. I have 12 spots open for this cohort and 1 has already been claimed. I am going to give you personal custom support that is so far beyond a DIY course or a generic workshop. Please feel free to email me, DM me on Instagram at the.memoir.coach, and I will help you figure out if the Memoir Method would be a good fit for you. I want you to take yourself seriously. And if you want to take yourself seriously as a memoir author, you have to shake up your process and stop doing things that don't actually help you. That's why I created the Memoir Method as a cohort intensive experience. Because this is not just, I'm going to give you material and you have to figure it out on your own. Yes, I give you frameworks and tools, and then I make sure that you know how to implement them. This is like recoding. This is an identity shift for you. And your memoir draft will never be the same. I promise. I'm here for you. I cannot wait to see you inside of the Memoir Method. I will see you next week.
You've just listened to an episode of the Memoir Method podcast. The Memoir Method podcast is presented by Charlotte Writes. If you liked what you heard, the best way to support the show is to subscribe through your preferred podcast player. And if you're feeling especially inspired, I'd love it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leaving a review really does help other readers and writers like yourself find the show. If you want to continue the conversation, you can find me on my website at charlottewrites.co or on Instagram at charlottejanewrites. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. And remember that you have a story that matters.